Hi, this is the sports betting whale. I'm almost embarrassed to say that some people call me a sports betting living legend. But it is true that I have won more money betting on sports than just about anybody over the last 25 years. I have legally rated the sportsbooks out of tens of millions of dollars in broad daylight from my picks, and now I'm here to offer you the opportunity to share in my success. As you can see, I'm in the shadows right now, and the reason for that is because it's in your best interest that the sports picks I give you are not known to be coming from me. I'm a famous sports bettor who has won tens of millions of dollars betting on sports, starting from small bankrolls. The sports books in Las Vegas have stopped taking the kind of action that I tend to take, and because of that, I can no longer bet the millions of dollars on my picks or win the millions of dollars that I'm used to. By not revealing my identity, this will allow you to use the same system that has helped me to make tens of millions of dollars from betting on sports over the years for yourself. Starting when I was 13 years old, I was giving selections on games to many people who were profiting from my picks, and so I was able to make money as starting at a teenage era. After my teenage years, when I turned 21 and was allowed to place bets for myself, I went around to multiple sports books with this round robin system as I was perfecting it. I would catch hot streaks, and in certain instances I would be told that I won more money off my round robins than that sports book would be making for the entire year. I do have sometimes take straight bets, or I take some halftime bets as well, but through my history it's been the round robin systems that have turned me into one of the largest sports winners and bettors in Nevada history. In the 1990s, I was known to bet over $1 million a weekend, and keep in mind this is all off starting with a small bankroll. One of the largest sportsbook directors in history often talks about me on a radio show, saying that, without naming my name personally, that loves to talk about the stories back in the Mirage days in the 90s and considers me the best handicapper that he's ever seen. I'm not a boaster. I'm not, this is the first time that I've ever given any picks out to anyone else. I'm a very private person, but I think it's important that you see that the successes are real so that you can get excited about the opportunities that you can have by sharing in the same approach that I've been using for a long time. I would say that I've taken under $1,000 and run it into eventually hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars over 100 times in my betting history. And I've taken into $1 million tens of times, and then in the 90s I took it to over $10 million. My Pinnacle, when I was introduced to Pinnacle through a friend, I started with $50,000 and ended up with $4 million after 4 days. I've done this before many times. I've started with as little as a couple $100 and walked away with hundreds of thousands. I've started with $1,000 and walked away with millions. Now I'm going to explain to you how it works so that you can understand that it's possible for you as well. So that you can take a really small, relatively small amount, an affordable amount to risk, and end up walking away with hundreds of thousands of dollars in a short period of time. For example, recently, last year, I took $500 and a friend of mine took $300, and we were able to run it up to my end. I ended up with $180,000 and he ended up with about $40,000 in a couple of weeks. Let me tell you how that works, because that sounds, I'm sure, the first time you hear it, like that's impossible. But the accelerator system takes big jumps when there's a hot streak. If you take $500 on a round robin that pays back $3,500, so you've gone from $500 to $3,500, now the system tells you to go ahead and put 1/3 of that profit, the $3,000, onto the next series of round robins. So your next round robin's at $1,000, which pays back $7,000. Well, if you hit them back to back to back, all of a sudden you've turned $500 into $15,000, $20,000 in three bets. This system comes up with a lot of plays too, so that could actually happen within a couple days. Now you're playing with round robins of $5,000 at a time, and they pay back $35,000. So then the next stage of it, you're betting round robins. You're going to have to in Nevada, you have to spread it out to be able to pull this off, because at this point you're dealing with amounts beyond what most of the casinos will take. But you're taking round robins of $12,000, $13,000, and each one of those, any one of them hits, they pay in the 90s, $90,000 or $100,000. So that's how quickly it happens. So the system takes a small amount of money, and I remember going to Caesar's Palace, the high and mighty Caesar's Palace, thinking that they would continue to take any amount of action, and had the supervisor tell me, your betting limits are now $100. I said, are you kidding me? You're Caesars. You don't do that. And they go, well, with you, we're just really not interested in your action. We recommend you go somewhere else. And I asked at that point, well, who does take action? And they mentioned that Binion's downtown in the Mirage, Steve Wynn's Mirage. So after beating multiple casinos for the full amount that they would allow me to, actually quite likely closing one of the private ones on the Strip and creating tremendous losses for the others, I stumbled upon the Mirage Sportsbook. And at that point, I really felt like I had died and gone to heaven. When I made my first round robin bet, it paid around $92,000 or $94,000. And I went up to cash the ticket, thinking that sirens were going to go off and supervisors were going to come to approve everything. And a little old lady said to me, do you want chips or cash? I said, are you kidding me? You don't need approval on to pay out this ticket, and you've got the availability to pay me in cash. And she says, chips or cash, sir? And I said, okay, cash. And boom, she paid me. And I remember telling my brother at that point, even though this was a quite homely older lady, I said, that's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. So I was able to turn a small amount of money into $90-something thousand on my first foray at the Mirage. Then I got to know the assistant sports director and the sports director and asked them, I said, would you allow me to continue at higher and higher rates on these round robins? And their response was, sure, we take more action here than anybody, and Steve Wynn's not afraid of the action, so go for it. So I said, okay, are you sure? And they said, yeah. Well, that turned into a multi-million-dollar run very, very quickly. The ticket you're seeing now on the screen was one where the amount wagered, it was a preseason round robin with a money line. The amount that was wagered was $17,200, and the payback was $154,094. So that shows you how fast it can accelerate. The $17,000 came from a series of round robins starting with $1,000. The next round robin you're seeing was an acceleration where I was allowed to bet $20,000 away on a round robin of 4 teams, totaling $80,000, and you'll see the payout on that was $560,000, a $480,000 profit on one ticket. That's a fun day. Then the next article you'll see is where I took a 2-team parlay for $175,000, and the 2-team parlay hit, and it paid back $625,000 for a profit of $470,000 on a 2-team ticket. I'm showing you the proofs of my past success, not because I want to boast. In fact, I'm the opposite. I'm a very quiet person by nature, and I do not like to brag or put any undue attention on me. Another reason why I'm in a shaded area right now on this video. It fits my personality better. But it is important for you to see that what I'm telling you is documented, it is true, and there's concrete proof to it, so that you understand that this system does work. It does turn a small amount of money into millions of dollars if given the opportunity. So the game changed at that point, and I had to become a casino player to take some of the heat off the sports book for the fact that I was winning so much at the sports book. So I'd go play craps and blackjack or whatever, didn't care whether I won or lost. It was just, the whole point was to take a certain percentage of my profit, throw it back in. I even played high limit slots just to give the sports book some coverage that, hey, I'm a crazy casino player, and you know, I'm going to end up losing the money back in the casino I win in the sports book, so they're going to be fine overall. Then it got to the point where they started saying, well, you have to come in, an hour or two before the game so that we can try to offset your action. And when I would go in, right after I would make my plays, the loudspeaker would announce all of the point changes. Every single team I took, they would move the point spread, try to get people to bet the other side. The way sportsbooks work, most of you may know this, some of you might not. It's an interesting point though. The sportsbooks, what they're trying to do is even out the betting. They really don't care whether one team is more likely to win versus another on the spread. That's where it becomes a game of skill. They just want to make sure that if $100,000 bet on a game, that as close as possible, 50,000 is bet on one side and 50,000 is bet on another. So you have the general public bettors against what are called the sharpies, or the people that make a living off sports. The fact that many people make a living off sports proves to you that it's a game of skill. There's two games of skill in the casino. That's the sports betting and poker. And both of them, the casino is just taking a rake off the action. They're taking a percentage of the play, and in the sportsbook side, their goal is to even out the betting as much as they can. So for me, that makes it an interesting challenge. I have a strong background in mathematics and statistical analysis and pattern recognition. I score off the charts on IQ tests when it comes to pattern recognition. Since I was very young, I've had a real strong mind for that. Add the fact that I've got 30 years or more experience with games and understanding the emotions of the games and understanding the patterns the teams fall into at different times of the seasons, and whether they react well after a win or react well after a loss. These are all things that fall into patterns over the course of time. Back in the 90s with the Mirage, they allowed a very extreme amount to be played. There's not a whole lot of casinos in Nevada that are like that now, but people have their own abilities to win whatever amount they can through this system. An example that happened more recently was what happened with the Pinnacle, where I turned 50,000 into 4 million. One of the last times that I went on a large winning streak using the whale round robin accelerator system was at a sportsbook in Las Vegas. They were known for taking a lot of action, and they had a sportsbook director that was not familiar with me from the 90s run period I had at the Mirage. I started out small and worked my way up. I used some of the same strategies of being a casino player, so that the casino would say give him high limits because he plays slots and blackjack and craps and all that. So that was all something I did with no real concern about the win or loss on the casino play. The whole point of it was to be able to get the higher limits. As I got the higher limits, I was able to increase the amounts that I was taking and was able to convince the sportsbook to let me run to higher and higher amounts. After a period of significant wins, I won $800,000 in a 2-week period on round robins at this particular sportsbook. The director happened to mention that they were getting beat pretty badly on round robins to the former director from the Mirage back in the 90s, and that director said, "Oh, let me guess, it's the whale." So my identity was revealed to the new sportsbook, and my limits were brought down sizably, so I wasn't allowed to use the accelerator system to win the kind of money I did back in the Mirage in the 90s, or when I was able to play on Pinnacle in the mid-2005, 2006, 2007 timeframe. But again, for you out there, you have the opportunity to use this system and accelerate it, and you might even be able to accelerate it up to much higher amounts than I can here in Las Vegas, and I certainly hope that you have the opportunity to do that. But again, you may not be shooting for millions of dollars or $800,000. You might be thrilled when you win $100,000. That is something that in most cases you should be able to do on a regular basis. Can I promise you that you'll make tens of millions of dollars betting on sports like I did? Of course not. Nobody can 100% promise you the future when it comes to betting. But the point remains that sports betting is one of the easiest ways to generate absolute fortunes for minimal work involved. And with my picks, you're going to be following along with a proven winner. I've won tens of millions of dollars betting on sports over the years. Now let me be on your side so I can help you win too. The reason that I'm willing to give these picks is that I'm very well known in the Nevada market, and as I get on a hot streak, the casinos aren't willing to let me run it up the way I used to. Back in the 90s, the Mirage used to be the #1 sports book in Nevada. I believe that they took more action than the rest of the casinos combined. Binion's took some money, but nobody compared to the Mirage. I used to go around to all different types of properties, Bally's, Caesars, back then Little Caesars, the Barbary Coast, and after a significant run they would stop me from being able to bet any serious amounts. When I went to the Mirage, they said, we'll take your action, and they were willing to take almost anything I wanted to put down. That allowed me to accelerate. I could start with $1,000 or $2,000, get hot, win $15,000, put the $15,000 into play over a series of 2 or 3 round robins, hit one of those, be at $100,000, and move on up from there. I'll show you soon some tickets that won that, for example, were $560,000. I had some other tickets that paid $700,000, $800,000. It was not unusual for me to win $1 million in a weekend. And now that doesn't mean I won $1 million on every weekend. I mean, certainly this system is not a grind system. You will have losing weeks. You will have losing 2 weeks. You might even have a losing 3 weeks. But what I've never seen is this system with the predictions, the way I handicap, I've never seen a losing season. It does take patience. It does take the ability to ride the roller coaster without getting too emotional. I always look at things as strictly numbers. There's going to be a certain number of round robins that are going to hit, and when the patterns form, I'm going to go on a streak. I'm going to hit 3, 4, 5 round robins out of 6. Typically, when I get hot, I'll hit 18 out of 20 or even 29 out of 30. A streak I did on Pinnacle, I hit 92 out of 100. And that was the most fun streak that I've seen when Pinnacle allowed me to bet whatever I wanted. I started with $50,000 and I won $4 million in 4 days. So that's an extreme acceleration, but that's an example of what this system can do. What you'll see with the handicapping systems that I'm using are a lot of different pattern recognition techniques. I've probably scanned for 30 or 40 different types of systems that I know work during different sports at different times of the year. What we're offering here is an opportunity to participate in the same system that I've used since the 1980s and made me the largest bettor in the state of Nevada in the 1990s. We're winning or losing together. We're all in this as basically a team, and it's not fun when we lose, but it's a lot of fun when we win. And at the end of the month, you'll see you have a lot more money than you started with. And when we go on a run, it will be a celebration, because at that point you're going to have extra money that you've never dreamed of. This system truly works. Give it a shot and you'll see for yourself. And I'm with you every step of the way. As you're playing, I'm playing. So if I lose on the picks, I'm losing my own money at the same time. That's probably pretty unusual for how these type of systems usually work, because I'm not from this industry. I'm not someone that has done this before. I bet my own money. I win or lose myself, and I've made many, many millions of dollars, and I've bet hundreds of millions of dollars using the system over the last decades. I invite you to join with me as soon as you can, and let's start making money together. We're going to have a lot of fun, and you're going to be very pleased you did. Now, if you decide to join hands with me today and tail the whale by unlocking access to my daily picks, I'm going to throw into the pot 2 completely free bonuses: the Whale's Acceleration Bankroll Management System and the Whale's overtime betting system. The Whale's acceleration bankroll management system takes all the guesswork out of how much to be playing on these round robins, the different picks that are given to you generally on a daily basis. We will tell you what percentage of the bankroll to use for each situation. And once the streak occurs, we're going to help manage that growth for you as well, based on what your goals are and the amount of risk you want to take. The second bonus is the Whale's overtime betting system. This system is currently being offered at $100 independent of the Whale's round robin system, and will be given to you as an additional bonus if you take action soon. The way that this system works will not be only included in round robins, but when we have highlighted a very, very high percentage system situation, we will notify you the opportunity to take a straight bet on this situation as it occurs. What we've noticed over the course of 30 years of studying is that when teams have a situation where they've expended an inordinate amount of energy towards a game, an overtime, double overtime, triple overtime, quadruple overtime situation, or an extended extra innings game in baseball, their performance will suffer if they play again in the next 2 days. Well, it's hard for you to keep track of all of these situations that occur in college and pro sports. So as an added bonus, we will notify you with plenty of time to be able to get your action in on these games when these situations occur, and we will also give you a recommendation on what percentage of your bankroll you should put on these straight up opportunities. Look, offering to share my picks to people isn't something I've ever done before in my life. I've never needed to. I've made the money betting on my own sports systems and have given some picks to friends, but have never sold them before. I'm not a typical marketer or sports handicapper who has to sell their picks to make a living. I've already made tens of millions of dollars betting on sports using my round robin systems, and I don't need to rely on selling my picks to make money. The reason why I'm finally making this offer available is because, due to my history of winning, I'm now quite limited by all the sports books in town. There's not a single place here in Las Vegas that will accept the kind of bets I want to make, especially when I get on one of my patented hot runs. So you may have bought picks from other marketers or so-called handicappers on the internet and came away disappointed. Sure, they may be better at marketing than I am, but I'm the one who's going to deliver you the results. The difference with me is that I'm not just another player in the dogfight. I'm a living, walking, breathing legend in the industry, and I've proven it. I've legally ransacked the sportsbooks by the tens of millions of dollars over the years, and now I'm ready to finally break my lifelong silence and share with you all of my picks that help make it happen. I have made tens of millions of dollars from betting on sports. The truth is, I'm not exactly hurting for money. Sharing my picks with you is my opportunity to really make a difference in people's lives. And to take the risks completely out of your hands, I'm going to cover you with my Whale of a Guarantee 100% protection. To make the Whale membership totally risk-free for you, I guarantee that you'll make profits with my picks or your money back. It's that simple. Now here's how my Whale of a Guarantee works. If for any reason you're not completely blown away with the winning results of my picks, then I urge you to contact me at any time within 60 days, and I'll be happy to give you a full 100% refund of your purchase price. I'll also continue to send you my picks until you show a positive profit. This way, you cannot lose. I offer to take the risk for you because I know just how dominating my picks can be to help you finally begin taking off on the winning ride of your life. Besides, I don't find it right to take any of your money unless I can prove to you my worth. So step forward today, and you can join hands with me on this guaranteed offer. I've made tens of millions of dollars betting on my sports picks and using this round robin system over the years, and I am convinced that you'll enjoy success as well by following along. Guaranteed. So in summary, here's what you're going to be able to get, all risk-free. You're going to be able to mirror the selections that are being made by the Whale system. Whenever I make a play, I'll give you plenty of notice so that you can go ahead and make the same plays that I am using the proven successful system. In addition to these often daily picks, You're going to get the bonuses of the Whales Acceleration Bankroll Management System, where I'll guide you through what percentages of the bankroll to be putting on the round robins or occasional straight up bets as we progress. You'll be receiving the Whales Overtime Betting System, where I'll alert you whenever there's a golden opportunity, a high percentage straight up play based on fatigue, overtime, and other factors that I look for that we'll be highlighting for you. So take action now, risk-free, and you can immediately start mirroring my action, and I'm one of the biggest and winningest sports bettors ever. I'll see you on the other side.